What it is, what it was, what it shall be, what it won't be, what it can't be, what it never will be. What? This is the Yay or Nay show. This is the sports show for sports fans from a sports fan. Okay, so we got a lot of things to go over today. This is my first time broadcasting via video, so I might mess a few things up today. I'm just putting that out there as a quick disclaimer. But we got a lot of things to go over today in regards to today's big broadcast. Let's talk about some of the Yay or Nay questions that have come back. Now, these questions are put out on our Twitter page. The address to the Twitter page is at Yay or Nay Podcast, at Yay or Nay Podcast. So let's get into this. Do you like the proposed 12-team college football playoff? All right, got a lot of votes back on this one. Coming back at 56 to 44, we have yay, you are in favor of the proposed 12-team college football playoff. Another one we got up is, do coaches matter in football? This one came back 83 to 17. Yay, coaches do in fact matter when it comes to the game of football. Another question that we have that came back is, do coaches make a difference in basketball? This one came back 100% yes. Coaches do in fact make a huge difference when it comes to basketball, mainly the NBA, because of course that's what we're speaking of now. Another question. Now, we had a lot of questions that have come back because over recent shows, I haven't had the ability actually to talk about the yay or nay questions that I've been posting and getting responses to because we have had so many stories that have been coming out that we've had to discuss. I haven't had the ability once again to even go over any of the questions. So we're going over quite a few today. On the daily, we won't have quite this many. But again, we got a bunch because I have not been able to go over quite a few of these over the past few broadcasts. All right, the next one. Are the Dallas Cowboys still America's team? Now, this one's interesting. I had to do this in two different polls, and I did it on two different occasions. Reason is because, check this out. The first response from the original poll that I got was 100% nay. Dallas is not America's team, okay? So I'm going to get to the next result from the next poll here in a few minutes, but just so you know, it's one of two polls that I did. First one, 100% came back, nay, the Dallas Cowboys are not still America's team. Okay, another one. Is it bad for baseball when pitchers use foreign substances to pitch? Because as you know, there's been a lot of stories going on in regards to baseball. Everybody talking about the foreign substances that everybody's using. Spider Tack happened to be the one that everybody's discussing right now. And there's a lot of debate as to whether it is or is not bad for baseball. So, again, I asked the question. You gave the answer. 71% of you say, yay, it is bad for baseball. 29% said, nay, it is not bad for baseball. But, again, looks like 71% of you are still traditionalists, and you are all in on making sure that the pitchers are not using foreign substances. Okay. The next one we got. Do you like the underdogs to win games? Okay. There are reasons, FYI, why I ask these questions, and we will get into what these questions are all about, where they're leading, because there are, in fact, bigger stories, bigger conversations to be had with these particular questions. But again, got to ask the questions first before we get into the big topics. Do you like the underdogs to win games? This one came back 100% yay. You do in fact like it when underdogs win games. That's hot. I like that. I'm an underdog fan myself. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I like the underdog to win. But again, that's going to lead to a lot larger conversation, as will the rest of these questions. Okay, who is the better quarterback? Another poll that came back. The two options were Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers came back 69%, and Brett Favre, of course, means he got 31% of the votes. So by your votes, Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback when you're talking about him and Brett Favre. Another question that came back again. This is for a past story. Unfortunately, for those of you who are seeing this on video, watching me live right now, you may or may not be aware, depending on whether you follow the Yay or Nay podcast, but I did a big story in regards to, Floyd Mayweather. Was it a big deal? I said it wasn't a big deal. It was just a money grab. It was a facade. I didn't think it was a good idea to even have this so-called exhibition when you got the other guy, the opponent, trying to say he's going to knock out Floyd Mayweather and stun the world and act as if it was a serious match. And then they're sitting there propping each other up during the fight. I mean, the whole thing was just a mess. But the bottom line is, did you watch the Floyd Mayweather fight? This one came back 67-33. No, you did not, in fact, watch the Floyd Mayweather fight. Okay, now, this is the end of those particular questions. Let's talk about some of the things that are going to be coming up on today's big podcast. Today's topics are, do you go for underdogs, which, again, was one of the yay or nay questions that you just responded to on our Twitter page. The address, by the way, to our Twitter and our Facebook page, at Yay or Nay Podcast, at Yay or Nay Podcast. The other question, another one of them that came back via the poll, are the Dallas Cowboys still America's team? And then, of course, we're going to talk about the results from the NBA playoffs, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion in regards to the LA Clippers. Matter of fact, let's get into the playoffs right now really quickly. Let me get over to that page. Give me a quick second. I am just scanning back over to it as we speak. So as you guys know, Suns took a 3-0 lead by beating the Nuggets, right? So that's a given. And then, of course, you got the game going on right now between the Bucks and the Nets. The Bucks are currently in control right now. Will they still win the game? I don't know. But I did say that the Nets are the NBA champs. They're going to be the ones to win it all. I don't think whether the Bucks win today or not really is going to make that big of a difference, because at the end of the day, it is still going to be the New Jersey Nets moving on and getting past the Bucks. And then, of course, you got Philadelphia taking care of Atlanta. So that's looking good. In the Alex C, I was right. Alex C, I was wrong, because I did say that, of course, the 76ers were, in fact, going to get past the Hawks. And it looks like that, in fact, is going to take place. And then, of course, you got the Clippers, you got the Jazz. Clippers took care of business yesterday. A lot of people are debating whether, first of all, everybody's talking about which Clippers team is or is not going to show up, right? As if there's like these two different squads. One is a team where they just kind of falter a little bit. They don't really live up to expectations. A lot of people are saying that this Clippers team was built to be the NBA champs. And if it doesn't work, that, they should blow it up and they should look at breaking up basically really the big two, which is part of where my confusion lies. How do you have a big two, and in Brooklyn you have a big three, really a big four, but a big three, and the big three is the one who everybody thinks is going to win it all, and yet you got a lot of people on the broadcast side trying to say that the Clippers are the ones that were built to win it all? I'm a little confused by that, because, again, they're not a big dominant force. They don't have a supporting cast of players that makes them look like they are NBA title grabbers. They are just going to be the guys that maybe could get you to the NBA Finals, but I don't see a cast of characters that can get you all the way to the top and win the NBA Finals. Again, now, this is just my perception. It's what I see. Keep in mind, I'm a fan. I'm not a broadcaster. I don't claim to have all the stats, the numbers, or any of the inside information from general managers or scouts or anything like that. It's just me telling you my opinion, what I see. But from what I see, I do not see an LA Clipper team that is built to win the NBA title. I don't know where these guys get the idea that the Clippers, in fact, are built to win the NBA title. But again, there are people that say that's what they were built for. I think that they are still steps away from winning. You got Kawhi Leonard, you got Paul George, but I don't know where the rest of the other components are that get them over the hump to make them NBA champs, especially when you look at what the Brooklyn Nets have. There's just nobody that can compete with the Brooklyn Nets. Again, maybe Milwaukee today will, in fact, tie up the series at 2 games apiece. Don't know. That game's not done, so there's no way to say one way or the other. Milwaukee's been looking okay so far today. But again, they're at home. And it's another thing that people forget about, especially let's go back to the Clippers and the Jazz. Okay, when you're at home, you're supposed to handle your business at home. That's why there's a thing called home court advantage, right? That's what it's all about. So when Utah was at home, they were supposed to win those games. And when the Clippers are at home, they're supposed to win those games. It's all about who can get the steal, who can be the one to win that away game to take the series. That's what it's all about when it's all said and done. I don't know where people get the idea because you're allegedly the better team, you're supposed to walk into somebody's home court, win those games, go home, win those games, move on to the next series. I don't know where people get the idea that that's the way it's supposed to work. But when you listen to these broadcasters and these NBA analysts and all these people talk, they act as if the Clippers are supposed to, because they're allegedly the better team, even though Utah has the best record in the NBA and they consistently had the best record in the NBA all season long. But everybody acts like the Clippers are the better team and they were supposed to just walk into Utah, win, go home, win, move on to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, it just makes no sense. And then when you look at it, let's look at it this way. Utah barely won. The Clippers did compete, and Utah barely won. And the Clippers, over the last 19 days, have played a lot more games than Utah when Utah had like a week off before the series even started. So Utah came in with fresh legs. The Clippers are coming in not with fresh legs, a little tired, right? Still competed in both those games in Utah, nearly won game one in Utah, and then really handled their business better than Utah ever did in winning game number 3. So I don't know why everybody is counting the Clippers out and saying that the Clippers aren't going to get past Utah and that it's going to be Utah and Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals. I still believe it's going to be the Clippers. I picked the Clippers to win this series, and the Alex C, I was right. Alex C, I was wrong, and I'm still standing strong with that prediction. So I don't know. Just one of those things that just confuses me a little bit. I don't know why everybody's so down on the Clippers again. They are not built to win an NBA title with the current cast of characters. If they won it, that'd be great. I'd be surprised. They're a good team, but they're not a powerhouse great team like what you see in the Brooklyn Nets, who, by the way, have one of their stars, James Harden, who's been down this entire time, and yet Brooklyn's still dominating. And again, going to get past Milwaukee. And then you have everybody who's counting Milwaukee out, saying Milwaukee's done. Time to fire the coach. Time to get rid of the stars. Break it all up. Start all over. Giannis needs a new cast, or he's going to start to request to move himself to another team and build himself a super team. I don't know whether that will or won't happen, but do I think that, Milwaukee needs to blow it up, or that the coach needs to be the first thing to go and then they need to figure? No. Look, there's a lot of things wrong, yes. Has Giannis, for whatever the reason, changed his game during the playoffs versus what he's done during the regular season in seasons past and in this season again currently? Yes. Why? Don't know. It's definitely a conversation to have, and it is, I would admit, a shortcoming in coaching, obviously. But even with that being said, coaching is not your problem. Giannis is the one making the conscious decision to change his game style in the playoffs versus what he does in the regular season. Okay, so that's a mental lapse on him, not necessarily something that you could blame on the coach and say it's his fault. So it's something that Giannis has to look in the mirror and figure out, hey, what am I doing? Why is it this way? What am I doing wrong? That's something Giannis needs to figure out. So hopefully he gets it figured out, and maybe he has got it figured out again. Looking pretty good against the Nets so far today. Maybe they pull it out and tie this series. Maybe they, in fact, make it a series. But again, Brooklyn is still going to win. I believe Brooklyn is still going to be the NBA champs. Okay, let's get into the yay or nay of one of the questions we talked about. Do you go for underdogs? Now, in the poll, a lot of you came back and said you do, in fact, go for the underdogs. You are all about the underdogs. Okay, I would agree. I would definitely agree. And we're going to get into an even deeper conversation when it comes to this, because we're going to talk in future casts, not today, but we're going to talk about the playoff system that has basically been introduced to college football that basically they believe is going to get passed in regards to the current proposal that's out there, moving to 12 teams. There's a lot of people that have a lot of things to say about it. Underdogs definitely is part of the conversation. They're not really having it, but I think they should, and we will definitely get into that. Again, we're not going to get into it today, but we definitely in future casts are going to have that conversation and, in fact, discuss underdogs and how it pertains to the new playoff system that will more than likely get passed for NCAA football. But when you talk about underdogs, I mean, we're talking about underdogs now. I mean, you got the Milwaukee Bucks going up against New Jersey, right? You got Denver and Phoenix, in fact, really, even though they're favored, they came in as the underdogs overall when the playoffs first started, right? So you got the dynamics of that. You've got the Clippers, right? And they're just battling away against Utah. Hard to say who people think the underdogs are. Again, Utah coming in with the best record in the NBA. The Clippers coming in allegedly as the team that's supposed to win it all. Hard to say who the underdog is in fact supposed to be right now. Since they're trailing, I guess you could say it's the Clippers. So I would imagine a lot of people, even though you've got, the two stars on the Clippers, I would imagine a lot of people, because they're the underdogs, are currently cheering for the Clippers. I mean, it was kind of cool in the last series to watch them go down 0-2, come back and win the series. A lot of people are talking about it would be the first time in history if the Clippers could repeat. And again, they went down 0-2, come back and, in fact, win this series and move on to the Western Conference Finals. That would be a first time in history that that's ever happened. So underdogs, a lot of people like underdogs because most of the time when it comes to underdogs, and these are conversations, FY, that I have with a lot of people when I drive rideshare. So I run into a lot of people when I'm driving rideshare, and I love to have as many sports conversations as I can on the daily. I also, kind of on the, we'll call it anonymous tip, talk in a lot of chat rooms and forums and things of that nature. So I have a lot of conversations in regards to sports. I got a lot of friends that on the daily throughout my entire life, Jesus, literally my entire life, I have had these certain friends that I talk to daily about sports, argue a lot because, we don't agree on a lot of things. They have certain favorite teams. I have certain favorite teams. We obviously don't see eye to eye. We don't see eye to eye on contracts and players and how teams should be run and certain organizations and things of that nature. But the bottom line is so with that being said, you got a lot of people that are saying that underdogs are great to watch because, when you got a team that comes in and they got a great story and you got a guy who you just like and you just love him and he's never really had the best of luck and he's not on the best team, they like to see that underachiever overachieve. They think that's a great thing to see. And I wouldn't disagree. I absolutely would agree that that's a great thing to see. But you also got those people that I call traditionalists, okay? And those are the people that tell me that, look, on the nay side as to why they don't like seeing underdogs, it's because it undercuts the season. It makes it look like just nothing, meaning the hype is gone. That's really what they mean when they say that. When they say it looks like nothing, they mean the hype is gone. So in other words, if you're watching currently the NBA, right, and let's just say, and some would, that there are no superstars left in any of the teams that are currently playing in the playoffs right now, okay? A lot of people whining and upset because LeBron James isn't there. And then you got a lot of people saying that because LeBron James isn't there, the ratings aren't going to be as high, the interest isn't going to be as high. And without those stars and those people that you expect to see, again, keywords, that you expect to see moving on in the playoffs, going into the championships, that, interest is gone, ratings are gone, and that hurts the overall game. Whether you're talking about baseball, football, basketball, hockey, doesn't matter. Bottom line is, when you got the people that you expect to be there and they're in fact not there, they believe it hurts the game. So when you get the underdogs and you got a bunch of no names, it's just kind of like, there's no interest. And again, they believe it leads to lower ratings, lower interest, and it hurts future seasons. And they believe that it makes it more difficult for a sport to accumulate future fans if you don't have the hype. And the hype only exists if the stars are actually playing for the titles. And that is what I call the traditionalists. But again, you have the people that are that cheer for the underdogs that say, no, that makes it more interesting. It's better than seeing the same old all the time. You don't want to see the same old all the time. You want to see that it's actually competitive, and you want to see that the best team is actually going to win, so it doesn't look like it's all set up just for the superstars to be there. So that is the reason why they like to cheer for underdogs. Now, there are many other reasons why people like to cheer for underdogs. That's not the only reason why people like to cheer for underdogs, obviously, but that's one of the reasons people like to see it, because again, they say that means that it really was competitive and the better team actually won, and it doesn't look like the leagues have it all set up, so only the stars are there and only the stars teams can win. It's kind of the reason why a lot of people hate Tom Brady, right? Because him and the Patriots were always in the mix, and a lot of people felt that the Patriots were never really the best team in football. So how is it even possible that this guy continues to go to the Super Bowl all the time? But again, the reason is, in their mind, was Bill Belichick, the most hyped up coach in the NFL, Tom Brady, the most hyped up quarterback in the NFL. So the NFL, in their minds, set it up so that the star, Belichick and Brady, would be in the playoffs and then make it to the Super Bowl, and that it was designed to be that way. But they like rooting for the underdogs because they liked watching New England get beat. They liked watching them get beat in the Super Bowl. They liked watching them get beat in the playoffs, because by doing so, it made it seem to them as if it was really truly a competition in fairness, and the better teams actually won versus something that could have potentially been set up by the leagues. Because again, there are people, and it seems to be a growing scenario in people's minds, because I hear it a lot from a lot of different people, that they think that the leagues, in fact, are determining who should and who shouldn't be in the playoffs based on market size, who the player is, marketability of the player, marketability of the coaches. And it is really, truly a big time, I won't call it a conspiracy, but thought process that a lot more and more people are starting to share. And I'm hearing it more and more universally as I talk to people. So it's just one of those things that people say when they like to cheer for the underdogs versus seeing the underdogs lose, like always. And when you look at the poll that I just got back, that shows me that, again, because keep in mind, I'm in forums, I'm in chat rooms, I'm talking to people as I'm driving them in rideshare, and now I'm getting polls back that are telling me 100% of the people are cheering for underdogs. I mean, and again, that's not necessarily the largest sample size in the world, but with that being said, still, to get a poll back where that many people are saying they cheer for the underdogs, that tells me that, people are looking for a change of the guard. They're not looking for it to be the same old in the playoffs. And again, and this conversation will be great moving forward, jumping in to the playoff system that's being introduced to the NCAA. So I'm definitely looking forward to having that conversation. But again, that's going to be on a future cast. Now, the other conversation, and this one, I wish I could get my friend on today, because I'm sure it'd be an argument and a half, and you guys might enjoy listening to it, because I've been having this argument for years. Are the Dallas Cowboys still America's team? Okay, now, there are a lot of reasons why people are yay. There are a lot of people why reasons are nay. And let's go over some of those now. Okay, so the Dallas Cowboys, are they still America's team? You got people that will say yes. They're still the most, they've got the biggest net worth, right? They're the most promoted. They've got the most games on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. They are your prime time team, right? And then, of course, you got, the game of the weeks, and it's always the Cowboys versus such and such. Dak Prescott, probably one of the most promoted quarterbacks in the NFL, definitely one of the most talked about quarterbacks in the NFL. You had, the coaching change and the scenario with the coach, and you've got everything that goes on with the organization. The cheerleaders are still the number one brand in the NFL. And so you got a lot of people that say that the Dallas Cowboys definitely are still America's team. And then, of course, they say the ratings for Cowboy games are still higher than any other teams. Now, I don't know if that's factual. Again, keep in mind, these are things that are being told to me. I don't have numbers to back up those statements, again, because those are not things that I'm saying. Those are things that are being told to me. But nonetheless, they're saying that the ratings are the highest, and that's the reason why they're on Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Thanksgiving, and all the other holiday games and everything that you got going on. It's always the Cowboys versus. And there is obviously some merit to that, because that is something you physically can see. Whether you're a Cowboy fan or not a Cowboy fan, I'm not a Cowboy fan, I'm a 49er fan. Whether you're a Cowboy fan or not a Cowboy fan, it's definitely, again, something you can see, because, again, it is true. Look at how many times the Cowboys are on primetime, without a doubt. Now, for the naysayers, They simply just say, look, you do get a lot of people that watch these games, right? But more people, in their opinion, more people watch these games because they hate the Cowboys and they want to watch them lose. And because the Cowboys are playing against their favorite team. And if there's one team that you want your favorite team to win in any given game in the season, it's going to be against the team that you hate the most, one of the most vaunted, hated teams in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys. So that's the reason why they say the ratings are high. It's a misconception. The Cowboys are not the favorite. There are a ton of people who hate the Cowboys, but since the Cowboys are playing against their favorite team, they're, of course, going to watch those games on primetime. Because, again, keep in mind, primetime, not everybody has NFL Sunday Ticket. So not everybody gets to see their favorite team play week in and week out because, again, not everybody has NFL Sunday Ticket. So when your team is on primetime, and since your team is scheduled against the Dallas Cowboys, of course you're going to watch the game. Of course it's going to be, one of the most viewed games. So it makes sense in regards to what they're saying. It could be a misconception in regards to how the numbers work when you're talking about the ratings and the viewership for those primetime Cowboy games. But again, they're saying that, the Patriots, up until Tom Brady left to go play for Tampa Bay, was arguably America's team. Bill Belichick, right? The coach that everybody loves. Tom Brady, right? The quarterback that everybody loves, the greatest of all time, as they like to call him. I don't know who came up with that greatest of all time for Tom Brady, but they say he's the greatest of all time. So with that being said, you've got people who have said that the Patriots, over the time that Tom Brady, which would have been 18 seasons, over the time that Tom Brady was with the Patriots and they began their winning tradition, that the Patriots were, in fact, during that time frame, America's team. And those same people who are naysayers saying that the Cowboys are not America's team are saying that right now, because Tom left and went to Tampa Bay, yeah, you got the Brady fans that moved over to Tampa Bay and they're going to cheer for him, but you still have the loyalists to the Patriots who aren't going to leave them even though Tom Brady left. And with that being said, there's like a void. So with that void, you have people who basically are not really rooting for any one given team, making anybody America's number one brand. But the thing is, keep in mind this. I will say this on behalf of all fans. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't know what I'm about to say. But, in the 70s, when Dallas first got branded as America's team, keep in mind, that was the shield known as NFL who made the decision to say that the Cowboys were America's team. It wasn't anything that came from fans. And when you want real branding, when you want to be branded as something like LeBron James and Michael Jordan, whether they get branded the best and the greatest of all time or not, who's number one, who's number two, keep in mind, that comes from the fans. I mean, you're going to get a lot of, national sports guys who are going to tell you, no. We, the sports writers, are the ones who decide this. You people on Twitter and you fans, you don't get to make those kind of decisions. You don't know what you're talking about, because there's somebody who comes to mind when I made the statement I just made, because, there's a lot of arrogant people who do sports anchoring and like to talk as if they're the end all be all when it comes to opinions and things of that nature. But reality is, and this is reality, speaking specifically to you sports casters who like to talk as if you're the ones who decide. You don't. The fans decide who's the best, who's the greatest. Doesn't matter what you sports writer thinks. Yeah, you guys may have your little awards that you give away, and you guys may be the ones to vote on it, but that's a lot like Academy Awards and Oscars and things of that nature, a bunch of insiders, and they're the ones deciding who's the best, and yet they pick the movies that nobody went to see. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the Oscars you want to. If you didn't have the ticket sales to go with it, then pretty sure you're not going to be able to make that sequel, because an Oscar does not equal ticket sales, a.k.a. profit, a.k.a. money. So you, the fans, are the ones who decide who, in fact, is the best and not the best. But the Cowboys were self-branded by the NFL to be America's team, and then you got America's team, a.k.a. the Dallas Cowboys, to start saying it repeatedly and repeatedly as they went and did their interviews with sports commentators, post-game interviews, pre-game interviews, whatever the case may be. You had coaches saying it, and of course you had the ownership saying it. So it just started to stick after a while. But it's mainly stuck with Cowboy fans themselves because, again, I have never, ever seen it to where the fans themselves, and again, this poll kind of backs that up as far as I'm concerned. I've never seen it where the fans themselves have named the Cowboys America's team. All right, look, I know I'd love to go deeper into these conversations because there's so many more branches we could discuss when we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, fans deciding stuff versus these sportscasters who want to tell you that, they're the only ones that matter. Underdogs going into the playoffs for the NCAA. We're going to get further into it, I promise. Just limited on how much time I can do in regards to these shows. But this, again, is my first time doing a video. I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. Do not forget, Facebook, Twitter, at Yay or Nay Podcast is where you can reach me. A lot of stories up there. A lot of brand new questions are up there for you to answer as well. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you tomorrow.